Welcome to the Artist Exchange Radio Show with me, your host, Nate, as I turn the volume down on my phone. I'm here today. We have a special guest. As we're moving into the traditional gift giving season, I wanted to go over a little bit of clean house a little bit. For our customers, for our artists, for our entrepreneurs, there's a lot of things that have been going on the past year. And personally, I've given a lot of allowance to things because we're in the middle of a pandemic, and business had to, find a way and figure out things. But as things are beginning to kind of, balance itself out somewhat, it's just a lot of things that I think need to be done. Myself and a group of other business owners are starting to have conversations about, productivity and how customer service is and how even the business side of customer service is, and how we can figure this out so we all can win. I don't want to do that thing of one gotta go or, the click system. All that stuff needs to find its way somewhere else. Because what we're doing right now in the Black arts community, especially in cities like Baltimore, people want this too much. There's a CBS documentary on the great migration from traditional 9-to-5 work to people finding their true passion and skills. If you go on the Artist Exchange page, you'll find it there. And there's a little 11-minute clip, and it tells us a lot about where people's mindsets are. And the fact that you found your passion or discovered a passion throughout this pandemic does not give you leeway to do business poorly. It also doesn't give the consumer rights to just disregard people's value. And I'm one of those people, I think I did share this on one of your posts, Marnie. People see your value. They just hope that you don't see yours. They hope you don't see it. And that's a big part of the conversation that we'll have today. If we can bring on our guest, the artist, the photographer, the homeware creator, just all around stylist, artist. This man does everything. I thought I was a person that worked hard, but clearly he is working hard. So we're gonna introduce him and bring him on. How you doing, sir? You have to unmute yourself first. Yeah, there we go.
What's up, buddy?
How you doing today, sir? Can you introduce yourself to these fine people?
I'm pretty fair for a square. I am Devlin E. Wardell. So I imagine that an introduction should come along with a little bit about what I do. But at this point, I'm doing all the things, right?
And we're going to get to all those things.
But all right, so I'll just call myself a curator.
Curator. And you know what? I like that term now because it encompasses so much and it says so much. It is not just finding artists and hanging their work. It just is event management now. It's event management. All these things that goes along with being an artist. You manage art and you create art. Curation.
Right. Right. And ultimately, it is all about storytelling, right? I got started in this world writing and publishing and shit like that, and have since moved on to all sorts of other coolness. But ultimately, everything that I put into the world is either about sharing my story or helping someone else to engage in their narrative. So, fuck it, I'm a storyteller. That's what we're going to go.
And that's the difference between, I was reading another article about TikTok and how a lot of the white influencers on there are stealing material. And for Black people, we are the story. So we haven't done a good job of telling our story because our story comes from experience, from everyday life. and we don't have to be conceptual like other cultures have to be and think of these grand ideas because it's coming from within us. So
I think part of the challenge with storytelling with us anyway is that one, like our greatness comes often from these places of trauma. And with trauma, you deal with shame. And people got it fucked up, right? So they don't tell their story because they're ashamed. And what they don't realize is that that point of shame is where the power is sitting. Right? Like, so you think about like, all these mutant shows and how like they start hulking up and start glowing, and that's when they start getting super strong and shit. But if you think about how you feel when you're ashamed, it's that same pit in your stomach as they show when they're hulking up. So let's think about this anxiety and this fear as what it actually is. It's the fucking Hulk up. So like if it don't feel good, that means I gotta do it.
So a question that I have that I've been kind of asking myself really throughout this year, can we be great? Can we be artists without our struggle? And that's often without our story. But the story is there, but the struggle that we've had with our experience, can we be great artists without that?
So here's the deal. Like at base, my mother, I knew to stay away from the house when I heard Luther playing, because my mother would be in the house cleaning up and rearranging furniture and shit, or spray painting the dining room chairs and changing the seat covers. My grandmother would take the worn out jeans and make skirts from them. My uncle would try to make me wear a shirt and tie at Thanksgiving dinner when I'm really only just coming upstairs. So everything that I do is connected to who I am as a person.
Right.
And I think that it happens to be great because the Negro has a chip on his shoulder. Because he moved through this world as a poor black boy from Baltimore, mad at these folk looking at him who, one, don't expect him to do much, or the folk who look at him and expected him to do more. Because I was also that kid who was supposed to go to college and come back and teach or become an attorney or some job that would have me in the suit. And clearly, while I might in the suit and fucking kill them, because that's what I do, that's not every day for me. And I still at 45 freaking years old struggle with the idea that I might be disappointing my cousin who passed away a few years back. Like I had a whole moment, like just at work, just fucked up because I realized my stylish uncle and my cousin, who was more like an aunt, you know how it goes, like, but they would be so freaking proud of me right now. Like they would be so freaking proud of me, even though I didn't follow their expectations, right? Like they, I'm sure, would recognize the work that I'm doing to create these spaces for folk to enjoy the community in ways that I did with my family. That's what it boils down to. Like my youngest daughter likes to make me cry by bringing up how she misses dancing with my Uncle Jimmy. Like trash. She'll be coming home from school and she'll just bring it up. Yeah, I had an assignment in music class and I talked about one of my favorite songs being whatever, maybe Tears from Heaven or Smile by Kurt Franklin song.
Oh yeah, Smile.
Yeah. She was like, yeah, Jimmy used to dance to that all the time. I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna hate you. Now I'm in the car because I miss the beard and thinking about how I don't feel like intentionally carry on those things from our ancestors that need to live. Like style.
We're choosing to sit it aside. We don't want that to be a part of it. I think the big part of that was taking away the fact that we call ourselves Black artists because we wanted to just be artists.
Right.
and fit in. That idea of fitting in, and I think their expectation was for you is often what other people have expectations of, the things that they wanted for themselves personally.
Right.
So that then gets passed on to you when they feel like they passed that threshold of possibility. That's why I love to see, so many of our elders in this Baltimore community be given grants and fellowships. And you see these women and men in their 60s, 70s, just getting their name out there. Right. Or just being able to showcase what they've been doing this whole time. I don't want to wait that long, but I'm glad to see people are being that patient and waiting. But, expectations can be horrible because we take them personal and we make them our, and that's not my, goal. But I'm sure they will be proud of you for the work that you put in. But that idea of, separating ourselves from our history, from our struggle, understanding that I have to heal myself. I can't go through life broken, but I can't separate myself from my story either in pursuit of greatness or grandeur or, commercial success. That's the part that I had to struggle out of.
Yeah.
Because I was measuring my greatness by what other people determined I could do. Right. And I kept falling short. Like, I feel like I'm bigger than that. Right. I was measuring myself off of somebody else's measuring stick and not my own.
And like the funny thing to me is like after I do something, it could be the dopest thing in the world to everybody else. But because I did it, I'm like, oh well, what's next? You know what I mean? It must not have been too hard
to enjoy it.
Say what?
Allowing yourself to enjoy it.
Right. I don't ever.
Well, is that a struggle still for you?
Say what?
Is that still a struggle for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have been describing myself as an underachieving perfectionist pretty much since I wrote. And like my first book was me sort of working my way out of underachieving perfectionism. And I'll explain what that is. Like we know what perfectionism is, right? Like you want to do shit perfectly. Well, an underachieving perfectionist will pick the things that he's confident that he will excel at and do those things and be impressive with shit all the time. So that's how I lived the first half, being hella impressive at what I considered workaday shit. Now, like once I started writing and more importantly sharing my work, that's when I started moving out of it and really testing the waters of I guess my capacity. How much can I produce? Like what can I really put into this world as a creator? And be willing to share it. Because more shit, I think you probably know this too, more shit will not see the light of day than will. Right?
Yeah. I
think my wife asked me about making something, and I'm like, I've tried it so many times, like you could not imagine, but it wasn't. Yeah, it's okay. Because if you get it right every time, you ain't trying hard enough.
The things that you're hiding, can't say anything else different.
Right.
What does those things do for you? Because you're still doing it, you're still creating it, but why not give birth to it?
Because that particular thing might not be up to my standard. So, like, pretty much everything I do is experimental. I'm just trying to figure it out. And often, experiments go left. And when those experiments go left, either you hide it until you can revisit it, or you trash it.
I ask you that because it goes back to what I just said. That measuring stick that doesn't belong to us, that we're, taking personal. Does it feel like that, or do you really not think that those things measure up to the quality of the work that you want to put out?
So there's absolutely things that I feel some type of way about, but put out anyway because I know it's just a me thing. Mm-hmm. But there are also experiments that fail. And there's no other way to say it. A good example, though, of why failing is important is like one of the first pieces of upholstery I attempted. I did this shit like 5 different times in the original shop, like 5 different times. And it wasn't until the 5th time that somebody was like, oh, I want that, pretty much immediately after it posted. So they got the chair, went through a nasty breakup, called me for another chair, and I ended up doing their whole condo. And we called it curating catharsis, because this person is a writer, and I created a sofa that was a combination of mud cloth, but also white fabric, so they could write out their catharsis on the sofa and live with it. Wow. So that experiment that failed 4 other times became successful and allowed me to engage in other successful experiments. So, like, when I say I fail at shit, that's not like a thing that's coming from a place of shame. It's just a reality of production. Because, like I said, if you like everything you do, you're not trying hard enough. I don't believe you're pushing yourself hard enough. You're not uncomfortable enough, in my estimation.
I'm just learning how to still, and this is a recent lesson, still put it out there. Because I was always afraid of failing, but the failure would keep me from even attempting.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't live like that. I know too many people like that. And I can't stop for fear of failure.
Absolutely.
But again, you don't want to keep putting stuff out there because some people, they think that's your
right.
That's your,
right.
Your,
and I think with the different mediums, I sort of know, for me, what's good and what's not good, right? So, like, if I decide to write, I decided I'm working on a new book. I have one book that needs to be published, but the next book is called Nigga Lights, Nigga Knocking, and All the Other Nigga Shit of My Youth. So,
I laugh because it's just, I like the boldness of it, and I just like the space that we are in right now, or we're moving towards for many of us. Just put it out there as it is. The pretty picture is what it is, and not trying to create somebody else's standard of beauty. But that shit just made me, I would buy that simply because of the title.
Yo, you from Cherry Hill, I know you nigga knocked at least one time. At least one. And I know you believe that the lights only came on when Black people walked past. Yeah. You know, the motion detector lights, that was the general belief. Oh, they only come on for Black people. We didn't think about the fact that it was only Black people in our fucking neighborhood.
It's ignorant. I mean, it's ignorance, but it's steeped in a level of truth that I don't think people are willing to admit to.
Right. I think it's beautiful. I think it's hilarious. And it makes so much sense, right? If the only time you see the lights come on is when your little Black ass walks past them, you make these assumptions based on the way the world is around you, right? So, yeah. But my point is, like, I can tell pretty much within 1 or 2 paragraphs if something's trash that I'm writing or not. Because I'm so practiced at it. And I don't care how practiced at it you are, you're still going to produce it. Because that's just what it is. Like, baseball players go to the Hall of Fame for 30%, right? So they fail 70% of the time. They still going to the fucking Hall of Fame in their career. So when I say that, things
told me, she was like, "What do you call?" I was stressed at my SAT score, my practice SAT score, and she said, "Well, what do you call a doctor that finishes last in his class?"
A millionaire.
And I was like, a failure? I don't know. What do you call him? She's like, "You still call him a fucking doctor." And it took so much stress off me that I wound up doing well. But it was just that idea that we are taught that we have to be 1,000 times better than any other culture. This is something, especially our mothers pour into us, our parents pour into us. You got to be so much better. And I remember going from like a little charter school in elementary to private schools and feeling like I had to work so much harder. Then I realized how dumb these fucking white people were. I was like, I don't even gotta try that hard. But it was already ingrained in me. You gotta work 10 times harder, 1,000 times harder to be considered better than them. And I didn't really get that until I was an adult and I was a practicing full-time artist. And I started seeing the bullshit that they were putting out, and they just were so conceptual. This idea, I work so hard, and I just do something natural, and they not consider my work good because I didn't put the thought into it that they assume they put into theirs.
Right, and there's a difference between thinking about some shit and intellectualizing some shit. And I'm gonna go ahead and say these motherfuckers will intellectualize some shit and then step in some finger paint and step on a canvas and call it art. Fuck off. Like, fuck, just because you wrote 37 paragraphs about this fucking finger paint of your left toe does not make it art. Fuck off. And B, I think the problem with being said this, you got to work 10 times harder thing is, don't nobody know what you should be working hard at.
A friend of mine got this opportunity to go to, I'm not going to say, well, I'm going to say this, but fuck them. He got an opportunity to go to Micah. And he said he was sitting in his class, his senior class, with all of these students. And they would all have to do these projects to kind of, for their senior practicum. And he said this one young lady, she started taking all these pictures of random pieces of hair around the city. She said she just took a camera and she created this elaborate story that was great, a great fictional or possibility of why this hair was there, the story behind the person it belonged to. And he showed me the picture first before he even gave me all that backstory. And he was like, what happened here? And I was like, either somebody got into a fight or somebody was being ghetto and was taking their hair out on a bus stop. And he was like, that was so fucking simple. He said, and then he went on to tell me the story of what she gave. And I was like, it's only those two things. Like nothing else. Right. That hair couldn't have got there no other way. Right. It was a fight or she was being ghetto and took her hair out.
Right.
And then there was a fight. Like it's no other possible. And I fell victim to that, thinking I had to be so conceptual and be so, analytical with my creativity. And at the end of the day, it was a fucking fight or she was being ghetto. And I was like, I be killing myself trying to think like they think. And then they just making shit up as they go along.
Yo, so there's one that pisses people off with me every time, especially like in this art world bullshit. Mm-hmm. You wanna know what that word is? I don't fucking know. Because that's what I tell them when they try to get me to be all extra about something I made. So what does this mean?
What does that mean?
That's what the fuck I felt like doing. Like, I don't understand.
That was the color they had at the art store on sale. That was why I used it.
Say what now?
I was like, it was just the color they had on sale at the art store.
Listen, I'm the king of making shit when I have my house. Like, you know why I started putting fabric on shoes? Because I had fabric in shoes. that was no fucking dude.
Yeah. And you just saw the end result. And it doesn't, I think for us as Black people, people of color, it doesn't take away from our creativity or the value of our work because it just naturally came to us. I used to beat myself up over the head. I make earrings and I would beat myself up calling my earrings something, like all of it had a different name. And maybe 8 years ago, I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Just person is not going to remember the name that you gave to this earrings unless it was their own name, whatever.
Right.
But I was like, I'm not going to keep, I was naming my earrings after friends that I had, like Mama Jackie, you know, Mama Kabi. Like, I was just naming them after mamas or people I had, Professor Quartz from Coppin or Mama Meekins from Marina. And I was like, people don't care about that. And you're trying to be like somebody else by doing these things, and it's naturally coming from you. You didn't have to think about it. That person had to sit and watch you do it in order to get a concept on how they can do something. You didn't have to do that.
Right.
So can you tell us, I know you do photography, you're an author, you're a stylist. Like, what all do you do as this curator, this Black curator of art?
So let's talk about it chronologically from now to back, because I'm in the middle of, tomorrow is the soft launch of Baltimore Mercantile, which is the combining of a few different local brands into one retail space, i.e. KYV Mercantile, Tight Fisted Fashion, Tracy Zadig, Magic Octopus, this earring making dude, theoretically. We'll see how that goes. So retail spaces, and retail is like where I actually have legitimate experience. Like, that's the only thing that is resumeable of the shit I do. Like, when I do shit, I am a wedding officiant or minister, depending on how I feel. I married the shit out of my brother's bride a couple weekends ago. And I enjoyed it so much that I think I'm gonna lean into that more. The only reason, see there, hey Julie, could you put those on just let it fall forward, it's fine.
You see, those this man is a busy man, and just creating is what he does. And I'm sorry, like, still you good. It's real life. It's real life. It's not a fake reality show. It's a real one.
So the only reason I've not opened the church is because I'm afraid, and I'm not willing to risk it. Otherwise,
say that again. I think your sound went out. Say the reason you haven't done it again.
Because hell might be real.
Oh.
And I ain't fucking around, right? Like, I play a lot of games. I talk a lot of shit. But I ain't fit to open the church.
But that's small possibility.
Small possibility? I don't believe it's real. But I don't know. And people be like, Devlin, you know. I'm like, fuck that, you ain't never been.
No, so, I mean, I would love a space where, you can really mix your creativity with spirituality. I've tried to do that in my church, and I just get used for entertainment purposes.
I've named the church already. It's called Hand Over Fist Ministries. So, officiant, I cover things in primarily African fashion. So upholstery, but also art stuff. So, like mirrors, shoes, journals. We've gotten lampshades. We've gotten into some textile play. My business partner, Kimber, knows how to use the sewing machine, so that can change the game. I don't have to stitch shit with these authentic hands no more. So we doing all kinds of stuff. So it's officiant, retail, maker. I draw and I paint. I don't really sell that stuff. That's personal. That's been a thing from my childhood. But I think I might try to take it seriously, get some stuff out there. No, I'm lying. I had a friend who had this chick who was really, really into them. So she gave me about $600 to make some art and install it in her house. I didn't knock on her door. She knocked on mine. So, like, I don't feel bad about it. That was funny as shit. That was before I started anything creative, though. What else do I do? Styling. Vintage clothing.
That's how I was first introduced to you as a stylist.
Yeah. Through the light of my life is Tracy Jiggets.
I love
Co-founded Do More Baltimore, though I'm not a poet. I am happy and proud to talk about the fact that I co-founded the organization that is still producing world champion youth and adult poets.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big deal. I'm a writer still, I guess. I have published a few books and a few books of others as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's what I miss. I miss.
Did the retail help you with the business side of being an artist, or was that just another part of it?
I think I honed my people skills. So one, in retail, you learn a lot about running a business, like fucking business management 101. If you are with good companies in management positions, right? So you do just learn a lot of professional stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like goals, how to go your business and sales and all that stuff. I realized, well, not only that I was a people person, but that I actually knew how to flirt when I started working at Wayne Bryant at 19. So like I really honed my people skills then and really came to understand that my work is ultimately about people. If I'm being honest, I hate it. But also regularly enough, there are moments when a random customer will come in and share her entire life story and leave after having wept or whatever. So I recognized that I was supposed to be in that place at that moment for that person. So that's one of the few reasons that I've been able to survive retail so long. That I recognize that it has me move in purpose often. So yes, it's helped me in sort of intangible ways. Recognizing how to engage people toward the thing that you want. Right? Because even before we decided to open this retail space, I would invite folk to what we call the sanctuary, sort of a gallery / workshop, but inevitably we'd sell stuff. Right? Because I don't want to say how to sell people and shit, but I know how to create an environment where people feel comfortable enough to explore. So yeah.
I'm finding that that part of engagement, and that's kind of why I started the radio show, because I am not the best people person. I know how to do it. I know why I need to do it, but the actual application of it, it gets lost in translation. And I'm realizing that art of engaging a customer is very important. And often you'll get caught up in a conversation and you haven't really even sold anything, and you gotta like snap back to it to actually get the sale. But that it I've learned that it actually keeps customers coming back. You know, they'll buy stuff just for the sake of coming to hang out with you for a few moments, or me coming into this new space. I'm sitting in the middle of my studio now, and getting people here. I almost forgot that I had people that I had established relationships with, because I wanted to market to a whole different person, but I forgot to bring those people in, because those would be the people, the Tracy Jiggets, the Safis, a number of my friends who then became the spokesperson for my jewelry.
Right.
And developing those relationships with people, it was tough for me, because I see bullshit when I look at people, and I don't want to play the game. But right. I forgot that I still have a power to win people over and to share my story.
I think people get the game fucked up a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't play it. I don't play it. But like I don't play it so hard.
Right.
And people know. Right? Mm-hmm. So like I cuss people out now because they know one is coming from a real place, a sincere place. But two, they know they probably had it because that's
yeah.
Around me. Don't come in my space being stupid. I don't give a fuck how deep you are. This could be your first time. But if you in my space and you being stupid, that's how I'm gonna treat you. Like you fucking stupid. And that's not like on some I think I'm smarter than everybody else shit, but like we know how to act. We know better. Right? Don't come to my space and like you don't know better. I'm gonna call you the fuck out. Every time.
I do that, but I retreat or I'll get quiet when that person's in my space. And that people took that as I was difficult to engage with. But I would see it and I was like, I don't want to deal with it. But I'm gonna let you still shop, but I'm just not gonna deal with it. And that I think that's not always the best way. I like your approach. I'm just all I know is 1,000.
Right.
I gotta kind of come up with the levels between that.
Yeah,
so
there's nuance.
I know to get to 1,000. Right.
There's nuance. But also what I realized I sort of earlier before we went on, is that I don't need everybody. I don't want everybody's money. There's nothing that feels better than turning somebody down for their money. Because people want to believe that you live and die on a single transaction. And it's a great transaction.
Yeah.
I like to believe that I work hard enough and I generate strong enough relationships that I don't need everybody to come in.
Yeah.
People get really weird about wanting to reach every customer and get everybody that you possibly can. Like, it's 7 billion people in the world. I don't need that many.
And I go by this notion. I'm more focused on the 5 faithful people in my life versus those 5,000 fair weather friends.
Exactly.
And it took me going into my 30s to get that because I just thought I'm a theater artist, so everything is collaborative. So you trying to bring everybody with you and along for the ride, and you realize there are 5 people that's always in your corner. There are 5 people, whenever you put a post out, they're always going to respond to it and so on and so forth. And we get so focused in the commercial world that we got to focus on those 5,000 over there that we don't realize they only following us because it's something trendy at the moment.
Right.
But before we go any further, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Artist Exchange Radio Show every Friday at 5 p.m. Go to our Instagram, our Facebook, our Twitter, and as well as our YouTube page. Also follow Be Exposed Radio on all social media platforms. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break with the man of the hour. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
I've always been an open book, and it was time to write the story that God has been preparing me to share. Dear Tombstone is a glimpse into all of the hardest things that I've dealt with and that were sent to kill me, deter me, and delay me from fulfilling my purpose that God has set over my life. It is a journey down memory lane for me, but hopefully it encourages you to tell your story. It's now available on Amazon.
Can train and certify over 10,000 students in 10 years. We can renovate over 10,000 houses in 10 years. This is the Inner City Trade School Project, sponsored by Get With The Program. It's our time and it's our turn.
I feel like once we address the needs of the students, we can ensure that they'll be successful in the program.
The main idea is to know the safety of the program. And
do Black Lives Matter? Yes. We're going to show you how much Black Lives Matter. because we have a solution to the problem.
This school will help change the mindset of our young Black men.
And that's what we're trying to do, bring pride back to our community.
Substance use, anger management, mental health.
So here at the Inner City Trade School, that's what we're trying to build. That's what we're trying to create, an environment for our people to thrive.
I'm so happy to see one of my Being Schools family members today. I want to get back on the station, but I definitely want to run my ad for my business on Being Schools Radio. They are attached to so many different businesses and great entities here in the city. If you have a business, you definitely want to put your business out there, commercial, shout out, anything, and sponsor one of the great shows that's on Being Schools Radio.
Welcome back to the Artist Exchange Radio Show. I have my special guest today, Mr. Devlon. Did I say it right? I said it right. Devlin. There we go. Here with us today. Today's topic is no more excuses. I've watched a lot happen in the last year, almost 2 years now that we've been in the midst of this pandemic. We're going almost into the next year with this. And I've watched a lot of businesses flourish. I've watched a lot of businesses start. And I watch people who were 9-to-5 mentalities turn into these entrepreneurs literally overnight. We had the time and the space and the quiet really to really develop these ideas and decide what we had. People had a little bit more cash to be able to push around this time around. And I've watched people develop these businesses. What I want to see now is people really hone it in on how we do business with each other, specifically in our Black communities, because we are so pushed out on the idea of I gotta get mine. I gotta get mine first. I gotta get my money. I gotta be in my bag. I gotta make my money. And it's all about I. And we don't realize when we begin to work together as a team, we really get more things done. We're not competing, we're not copying, we're not stealing ideas, we're not doing any of those things when we're working together for the betterment of us all. There's no competition when I want to see you win. The competition is gone at that point. You know, and we've been pushed into this space of competing with each other for this small group. Crabs a friend of mine shared this statement with me. Crabs don't belong in a barrel. And we've thrived off of being a crab in that barrel because we're pulling each other down. But guess what? Nobody wins when that happens. You may get a couple more sales, but people see that behavior and not want to be associated with it. And we have to get better at working with each other and not just in our clique. It's great to have teams. I'm developing one now. We're calling the Art Social Network Group. It's myself from Bastrop Blue Jewelry Artist Exchange. It is Tamika Chapman from Style Lounge, Latasha Peaks from Love for Moms, and we have a new member, Miss Crystal Gatlin of I just forgot it. I Am She Podcast. It just jumped out of my head just that quick. But we've come together with a commonality of just wanting each other to win and starting from where we are. There's also a group that I meet with once a month. These 4 guys and we get together and just talk about the things that we need, the things that we are lacking. And I was surprised at how, people responded to it. And the fact that these guys and this other group, people needed the same things that I needed. I thought I was by myself with these things, being so creative, having these ideas, but not really feeling like I'm moving anywhere. And one of the reasons I have reached out to this gentleman was because I've seen him work in the community. A lot of people that I have on here, I'm watching you work, and I'm seeing the greatness in you, and I'm seeing things that I like that you're doing. And I often invite people onto the show simply to have a conversation and see where it can go. But I wanted to now bring you back into this conversation. When I say the topic for today, what does that bring to mind for you? There's no right or wrong answers, but you got to unmute yourself as well. No excuses. When I say the topic, so no excuses, what does that mean to you?
I'm gonna get to that, but I'm gonna go back to at least one, maybe two things you said, if I can remember both. But you mentioned the crabs in the barrel.
Right.
Fucking, like, they about to get steamed. It's hot. I understand why they fighting to get out. The question is, and I understand how they ended up in there. They were captured and put in there.
Right.
For me personally, folk could be justified in feeling like they're trapped in their situation. I don't. So I'm not in that barrel that folk are fighting to get out of. You know, I have my own set of struggles, but that shit don't have nothing to do with nobody else, right?
Right.
And appreciating what freedom and space you do have as a Black person in this society is really fucking important. Because there's some things that I can get away with. There's some privileges that I have, not in any way comparable to white privilege and all that fuckery, that fucktasticness. But there are certainly some things that I can do because of who I am. And in part, it might be like just like genetics. We are special people to what else. But so like I don't ever feel like I'm competing with everybody else. I'm in competition with myself. And that dude is a go-getter. But no more excuses. So when I first saw that as the topic, it came maybe a day or two after I was on the plantation, what I call my job, the one that pays.
We call it benefactor here. It's a benefactor.
Yeah. I was sitting on the bathroom floor in the dark, weeping inconsolably. Part of it, I think, is sad or seasonal affect disorder. Part of it is just the idea that I've struggled with depression and mental wellness for literally as long as I can remember. And part of it is that I'm doing too fucking much and I need to sit down, right? So I've been wrestling depression for about a month now, but like I was done. I was on the floor in the dark. Texting my boss, like he was literally on the side of the wall on the sales wall. I text him like, yeah, I can't do this. I need to go the fuck home. This is too much. I don't know what's going on, but this ain't the business. So I went home. And I curled up in the bed and hid my head. It was 2:00 and I stayed there. I mean, that's medical, so you know that helped out a lot. My mood shifted tremendously, and like I'm new to the weed thing, so I was surprised at how much it helped with depression. But get to the no excuses piece. The next day, I was back in here because this was opening in a week, so I had to get my ass up and get in here to do this thing that I believe is gonna get me off the plantation, right? I was trying to explain to one of the contributors today who's helping us get set up how she was like, yeah, we just talking about depression in general. She's like, yeah, nobody knows what we're going through because we have to put on a brave face. And I'm like, fuck the brave face. Like, people see what they see in me. But I recognize that there are some things that I'm committed to that involve other people that I need to get done. And I learned a long time ago that my energy sort of dictates the energy of a room. So if I go into a room feeling like fuck life, that room is going to feel like fuck life. So I need to find a space within me to engage in a way that allows me to lead my portion of this thing we're doing and be most effective at that. If it were about the plantation, I could call out, right? Maybe I miss a couple hours work, but I can recoup that. But when it's about that thing that I claim that I want to do for the rest of forever, oh, no. You need to get your ass up and you need to get to it. Maybe I don't have appointments with customers for a while. Maybe I don't take on no new projects for a while. Maybe you don't introduce me to nobody you about to ask for some money for a while.
Hey, Shania, what's up?
Listen, this time of year, folk get real honest.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even think it's this time of year. It used to be ebbs and flows, but now people don't have a problem with getting on a live saying, hey, I need lunch money today. Like, damn, you don't even know most of these people on there. You don't even talk to them.
Cash App in their profile. Like, that's what we doing. We just ask for them. That's the fuck. I didn't know it worked like that. But so like that's what no excuses means to me, though. When there's this thing that you claim that you want, how do you move through, around, beneath, over your challenges to get to it? Because the challenges still exist. Like I left here and gone home to pick up where I left off in the fucking depression. You know what I mean?
But that's how we've existed, and being really specific as Black men, that's how we have thrived in life. And we wonder why our relationships are fucked up. We wonder why our legacy is not what it is. We wonder why we stumbling in. Right. And we just like, I'm not even eating like that no more. But like you said, the level in which we're functioning on is so dysfunctional that it is now physically causing us harm.
Right.
In our relationships with people and Black people in general. I'm listening to what you're saying, and it makes so much sense because I was a person, I never wanted to claim depression because I'm strong as shit. I'm from Baltimore. We don't get depressed. Fuck is that?
Where the fuck that get you?
Right. That's y'all whores. That's not us. And I had to, even getting through a pandemic, all on my own, like by myself, living alone, just me. I realized it took my grandmother passing away. One of the strongest people. I've never seen my grandmother cut a tear before. Not even cutting onions. Never saw her cut a tear. And I had to realize her strength was her detriment. She died from Alzheimer's.
Yeah,
Alzheimer's is eating you away from the inside out. And metaphorically, the way she lived her life is how she died, how she left this life. Like, just not being attached to anything. And I'm in a space where I get what you're saying. And for the last couple months, I have allowed myself to feel bad. Like that idea of having to break my own heart in order to heal from it is something that I would have never done in my 20s. Never thought of that I would have to do in my 30s. You know, it's just that. So I guess my question to you is, how do you think we can heal? Like, because that whole thing of get up and get it moving, it gets harder and harder to do that every time.
Absolutely. I think there are a few things. One, recognizing that sensitivity is strength, not weakness. Because I've always been a crybaby, right? A couple years ago, I had acupuncturist tell me that part of the reason that I get so fucked up this time of year is because the veil between the living world and the spirit world is so thin, and I'm already pretty well connected to it that shit fucks with me, right? And it makes sense.
Yeah.
So just being conscious of who you are. Like one thing I had to recognize is that I feel other people's shit. So when people are sad, I get sad too. Like if somebody comes into me, I know how they're feeling. Like I may not be able to articulate it specifically, but I know. And like ain't no lying to me about it, right? Part of my purpose in life to be a bit available to people. But so sensitivity is strength, not weakness. Fucking tears are great. Like if I go too long without crying, I wonder what's wrong. Like I'm fucking. It's like me being constipated. I need to do it regularly, at least once a quarter.
Oh my god.
No,
I really wish I had. I'm trying to tap into that myself because that's not something I think I did too well as a Baltimorean, keeping that shit inside.
Yeah, fuck that. Fuck that. Let that shit out. Let it fucking out. Man, ain't nothing like a good cry. So I'm gonna tell y'all a secret. Hopefully, I was about to say hopefully not too many people listening, but fuck it, I want everybody on the planet to be listening to this right now. And if you are, you're getting some A+ quality shit. The Folgers commercial where the white dude comes home from college and the little sister is like, "You're my gift," makes me fucking cry every time I see it. I've found it on YouTube to test the fucking theory. Every fucking time. Like if I don't get an actual tear, my shit gets moist and fucking misty and warm and shit every fucking time. So there's something about like this love, particularly expressions of platonic love that fucking get at me. Like that shit pulls at me.
I try to tap into that when I see somebody doing something for somebody that is a remarkable type of thing where they don't have to be doing it, or they're doing something like taking care of somebody with special needs, or give somebody something just because, or I try to tap in. Like I'm gonna work on that. I'm gonna just watch all of that at one time
and let the feelings come. Don't fucking push nothing down. Let it out. Because I believe that while it's the Folger commercial that gets me, I'm crying for something else, right? Yeah. I'm mourning something. I'm grieving something. And I don't believe that I always have to know what it is. And when I say like I was on the plantation weeping or whenever I do, I'll say I don't know what it's about. And really, it's about me not being conscious of it. And that's ultimately inconsequential. I recognize that there was a need for me to move in this way emotionally. And I fucking go with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I am so lucky that I had family, like wife and children, that I can really talk to, like about anything. Like me and my youngest have some of the most fascinating conversations because she's 16 and obviously she knows every fucking thing except she doesn't. If you're listening, Daya,
it's nice to let them think they do though.
I mean, like, so she's hella smart. She's freaking brilliant. Both of them are. And like, I let her go for a while until it just gets too far. I'm like, okay, this is too much. Here's where you should look at the other side of that. Calm your little heavy ass down. But like unexpectedly, like I never would have imagined that some of my favorite people to talk to would be my children. And when I say talk to, I mean like have the real, like the consequential, the stuff that matters, like the politics and the religion and the societal stuff. Like we fucking talk about it. And that actually gives me hope that maybe they're talking like this with their friends, and there are some thoughtful young folk. Because looking at it on the surface, folk don't seem so and it can start to feel hopeless. But I guess to answer the question more directly, the people part, the conversation part, recognizing who fills your bucket. One of the things that I took with me from a retailing job was a story about the dipper in the bucket. You know this story?
No.
All right, so some old white man made millions of dollars going around telling. Oh, also I tell stories on stage, so you know y'all can feel free to book me. Because I do that too. I forgot to mention that. But this old white dude is making millions going around telling the dipper in the bucket story. I mean, his premise is really simple but beautiful too. Like I didn't know. So the idea is that you get up in the morning and theoretically your bucket is full. You're leaving the house with a full bucket, looking fly, feeling cute, and you get on the elevator and somebody is just rude for no reason. You spill a little bit out your bucket. Then you go to Starbucks and somebody jumps in line, spill a little bit out your bucket. And then you're in traffic and your bucket is half empty by the time you get to work. But then that person you think is cute tells you you're cute. So they put a little bit of water back in your bucket. And then your manager told you you did a good job on an assignment. So that puts a little bit back in your bucket. And the hope is that you'll have your bucket filled as much as you needed. And at the very least, you break it even. But the more important part of it to me, and I don't even remember or not, but the idea that we have opportunities to fill other folks' bucket.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know somebody is feeling insecure and you tell them they look cute, you just add it to their bucket. And I believe that if I add to enough buckets, maybe mine will end up full. That's
a space that I don't think many of us. I know we know better. So that's a concept that I think we all should know. But I think I see so many people choosing not to see it.
Right.
I see a lot of people who take it energy and catching what you're pouring out, but they don't think to pour back in. And I think a part of it is I need this. And then when I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna give, and then your mind don't get back around to it.
Right.
So you left somebody in a space that you didn't meet them on. And it's just, that's the part for me that I think as a collective, and I've never been any other race. I have other races in my family, so I'm not opposed to it, but I just think for Black people, we need to get that together.
Yeah.
Because we're dying off in a space of time where many of us didn't have to. We lost people that we didn't have to in this last year.
And how, right? Like, I feel incredibly fortunate that the people I know are at the very least willing to suffer my fuckery and have these conversations with me. I don't think enough of these conversations, just the conversation itself, like not even talking about the action of filling buckets intentionally, but just talking about the fact that this bucket shit is real. And maybe if you think about it, if you talk about it, you start thinking about those places where your bucket was depleted. And now guess what? You get to control how you navigate life. So if you know on 36th Street, your bucket's gonna be emptied every time, you can fucking not go down 36th Street. You can fucking avoid 36th Street and save some water in your fucking bucket. But you don't realize that if you're not talking about it. Like if you have a conversation about how fucked up 36th Street is, somebody might say, yeah, nigga, I know. That's why I started taking 35th. right?
Mm-hmm.
But that can only happen from conversation. If you only know, if 36th Street is all you know, you can't take 35th until somebody tells you.
Yeah. I think the part that I keep getting stuck on is we keep hearing now in part of conversation, I only want people with good vibes around me. I don't want to be around nobody that's not feeding me and fueling me, which I get, but we don't realize how we're taking from those people.
Right.
And then those people become the person that doesn't have a good vibe that we want to be around.
Right.
So we don't see that we are the culprit. We just see all these empty people around us. Like, oh, I got to move my territory. And we don't understand the pattern that then exists because I move somewhere else and I find people around me like that and I move somewhere else and we don't realize the contribution that we have to the pleading.
Yeah.
Right.
There's this silly vampire sitcom that I've been watching. They have like the regular vampires, but then they also have what they call an energy vampire, who is this vanilla ass white dude who bores people to death and feeds off the energy that he's taken from them by boring them. I'm like, this is genius. Why is this only existing now? Because energy vampires are so much more fucking real than Interview with the Vampire, fucking Tom Cruise or whoever, the Brad Pitt one. Like, jeez, this is so real. Like, I know so many of these people who just latch on in an effort to get all they can. And I can't remember who I was talking to, but somehow holding babies came up. And the fact that babies, like you feel good after holding babies. And the boy I was talking to was like, yeah, because babies have that good energy. They haven't been jaded by the world yet. I'm like, that makes so much fucking sense. That's why everybody wants to hold the baby.
Yeah.
Now, if we look at the other side of that, I question people who can't get babies to stop crying. I feel like that says something about you.
Now we're gonna be looking at people who can't keep babies quiet. Now everybody can be aware of them.
Well, what does that say about your energy? It's like this baby just legitimately don't fuck with you. What does that say about
you? Yeah.
Dogs too.
Yeah.
And I get like if you're scared of dogs, that's one thing. But if you're not scared of them and just don't like them, I can't trust you. Something ain't right.
I could have just had a bad experience. You never know.
Right.
You never know.
But like if you just don't like them. Because I've heard a couple people that say, no, I just don't like them. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Like you mean not to own? Because I get not everybody want to own a dog, right? That's fine.
That's me. I just don't want to clean nobody's shit up. That's just
That's fair. I respect the shit out of that. But if you tell me you mad at a dog, I'm wondering what's going on if that dog ain't bothering you. You know what I mean? Dogs and babies. Dogs and babies. Cats, different conversation. Can't fucking trust cats. But they don't need you. And I ain't calling it nothing a pet that don't need me.
But I definitely want to create a space. We were actually in a space like this at one point, and I've been trying to recreate that space because it did a lot for me. It introduced me to people who I see in passing, but didn't really have a mental or personal connection to. And you were one of those people that was there that day, and I learned things about each of you that I would not have known just being on the opposite side of a room at a poetry event or something with you. But I've been trying to recreate that in my own spaces because it's something I think as a Black man I need. I can't keep going through life, thinking that, my strength alone is going to get me through, or the idea of what tough and strong is going to get me through. And it's time for us to improve on that model and really, really treat ourselves better. That's why we see people living longer now, because people have stopped allowing certain things to get to them. And I just want to be in that space as soon as I can. I ain't gonna rush it, but I just want to be in that space as soon as I can. So I'm not, regurgitating the same things, generation after generation. I want to give that. And as somebody who stands in front of people, specifically students, I don't want to be that person that brings that energy to them when I could be giving them something way more beneficial.
Right.
But as we close out today's interview, I want to ask you, one, what advice would you give to your 17-year-old self? And what question would you ask to your 100-year-old self?
Advice to my 17-year-old self?
Mm-hmm. Because that's the age where the veil begins to be lifted. You can't bullshit. You can't bullshit them as much. And they don't have the experience, but they do know that they have the knowledge, just lacking the experience.
I think I would try to convince myself that I'm okay, that I deserve friends, that I am loved. Shit, I would probably say that to my 45-year-old self. If I'm being completely honest, this shit is like, I love how people try to act like they can figure it out or they haven't figured it out. I'm just like, get the fuck out of here. If you're not
that
always
next moment,
learning,
go teach them a hard lesson.
Right, exactly. My 100-year-old self, I would ask him if I did okay. That's all I'm working for. Okay. Like, did I do okay by people? Did I do okay by myself?
And this is an exercise that I give to my students, and I've learned to give to myself as well. But it tells you a lot about where you are. What you basically just said is a question I'll ask to my 45-year-old self. It gives us a good idea, balance-wise, where I'm at in the moment. Because the advice that you will give and the questions that you ask tell you a lot about where you are and where you're coming from and even where you're going even. It gives you a good insight. And I try to periodically ask myself these questions so I'll get a good sense, especially in the hard times, where am I right now? Based off of what advice I'm giving to someone. Especially to myself. What advice would I give to myself will definitely determine what I'm feeling in this moment.
Absolutely.
And it's just confirmation of your current feelings, just to say it plainly. But that's a good place to be, because it just sounds like you're in a real introspective moment in your life right now, where you're summing up things and maybe getting rid of things that you don't need and holding on to those things that you found valuable. And I find that a lot of
do that for you.
Go ahead.
The 40s, I'm trying to tell you, that's a good place to be. Like, obviously not perfect, but like you really start to recognize what you will and won't deal with.
I tell people that 2 or 3 years before you get to an age bracket is a good indication of what you're going to be feeling for those 10 years or so. That's how I was in my 20s. I kind of understood what was about to happen. I just didn't believe it.
Right.
Now in my 30s, I believe it. And I see the 40-year-old man that I'm about to become. And I don't think a lot of people go like it. Because they got used to, how people get used to abusing boundaries. And I think a lot of people are going to be pissed off. Because I've already started setting hard boundaries that they already don't like. So I can just about imagine. I'm going to be that on.
The walk-away game is strong. The walk-away game is strong.
Well, I'm learning. I think 40 will give me the walk-away game. I'm learning to just disappear. I thought he was nope, he left. So I'm getting that kind of good, but now I have to learn to say no with authority, and then the walk-away game I think will be much stronger and more effective.
Yeah, no, I think will be a forever work in progress because it's such a nuanced thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes you say no and leave room to revisit the conversation. Sometimes it's no and never fucking talk to me again.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But we don't want to. I think we have an issue with finishing, like completion. So we kind of hold on. We hold on to past relationships by keeping their number, or instead of just cutting ties. If they were supposed to be in your life, it's going to happen. It's not going to be anything that you've done or you've held on to or you didn't finish. But I'm learning how to have a good finishing to stuff and not staying too long for the party.
Right.
Where can we find you at? Tell us where we can find you at on social media and give us a little bit of information or the information on this new space that is right on Charles Street, formerly Typisted Fashion.
Yes. So you can find me on social media. It's all Instagram right now for the new space. It is bmore.mercantile at bmore.mercantile or Baltimore Mercantile. Then that's at 2114 Charles Street, the collaboration between my brand, KYV Mercantile, and Tight Fisted Fashion, among others. You can find the KYV Mercantile page at kyv.mercantile. My personal page, which I think has a lot of public speaking pictures up there. I don't know if the one you're on is DE Waddell, D_E_ Waddell. Photography page is at Damnable Blackness.
We're going to get you a nice link. We're going to get you one of them links where everything is together.
Yeah, link tree. Yeah.
A link tree.
Yeah, because I got one more. I just started my style page called Tuesday Fly. I've not really started posting on there yet, but that's coming too.
Okay. So I thank you for taking a moment out of your time. I know you're getting ready for your grand opening. And I really
tomorrow at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. And what's the address again?
2114 Charles Street.
Okay. I'm gonna stop by there. So good. I can't wait to see it. Anything I can do to continue to help you push your mission and your work, don't hesitate to reach out whenever you want to come on. Just holler at me, and I appreciate you. And I'm definitely gonna stop by tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So this has been another edition of the Artist Exchange Radio Show. The month of November is going to be packed with individual artists, and we're going to specifically focus on our artists in this Baltimore DMV community. And we're going to spotlight a number of entrepreneurs and community leaders that are doing their thing. We have a number of events with the Artist Exchange coming up, starting with Sunday, we have the Art Tea #2. Actually, I'm the featured artist for this one, and we have our herbalist, Miss J. Nicole. She'll be sampling, and we'll be doing some tastings of her teas as well. And you can stop by. That's 1734 Maryland Avenue. Sponsors, Style Lounge Boutique, which is also at 1734 Maryland Avenue. Love for Moms, and we'll have IMC Podcast doing live interviews the day of. And then the 9th of November, our first event for November, we'll be hosting our first artist social networking group, our first event to kind of launch that. Businesses are asked to come by. We'll help you do a sample of your table. You set that up. And we want everybody to just network in a different way, not to get, but to give, and just create that balance. Because if as long as you're giving, you'll always receive. You'll always fill that cup up, and it'll be coming back to you. So we have a number of events. If you go to our website, theartistexchange.com, you'll be able to get a bunch of those events that we have coming up. Go to our social media page. We're always promoting it there. And don't forget, if you want a show, come on over to Be Exposed Radio, beexposedradio.com. Peace out, people. It's been great. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe. Wear your mask. And sometimes sit your ass down.
Sit your...
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you coming through. And
you.